Welcome back everyone. Today is the final round of the European Chess Championship and I play against none other than the chess legend Vasyl Ivanchuk from Ukraine. For those of you who don't know him, he was I think #2 in his prime. Maybe he was even on the #1 spot in the world. He's been in the top of the world basically for the last, what is it, like 30-40 years. So yeah, he's just an absolute chess legend, and I actually played him already in the Sharjah tournament earlier this year, where I won on time in an equal position. So we do have some experience playing each other, and yeah, I'm just really looking forward to get this opportunity to play against like such an icon. I was always watching his games when I was younger, and he was one of my heroes, one of my chess heroes. So it's just a big pleasure to play against him, and I'll just enjoy the opportunity and not think about the World Cup at all. I think it's also, yeah, it's probably quite unlikely to qualify even if I would win. So yeah, I'll just play the game. Let's see how it goes. Also, winning against Ivanchuk is not something that you can, yeah, like, if it happens, it happens. But if he plays his best chess, even if he doesn't play his best chess, he's just a complete monster, and his knowledge is just basically unmatched. So yeah, I'm just looking forward to it. It's the final round, so yeah, thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in the recap. Welcome back everyone. The European Championship is over, and so is my game against Vasyl Ivanchuk from the last round. I made a draw, and yeah, it was a pretty tough game, and I'm super happy that I managed to secure the draw in the end. Of course, a win would have been nicer. There is still no final standing, so I don't know if I would have had even any chances to qualify. But yeah, a draw of course is still good, especially considering the game that I was under pretty big pressure from the start of the game, practically. So I went for knight f3, and he played the English, which I expected also. And here in this 4 knights English, I mean, with Ivanchuk, it's hard to expect anything, because he is basically playing anything. And I was checking many things like the double fianchetto, also if black goes b6 and g6, also some hedgehog if black goes b6. But in general, I just plan to play my course for most things, since it's yeah, what I checked most recently and most seriously as well. But for the 4 knights, I prepared a little bit this line with d4. What I gave in my course is, of course, g3, which maybe would have been a better choice against him, but of course, you never know. I did get some advantage after d4, cd4, knight d4, and now he played e6, and I went for this sideline with bishop f4, which I already played, I think, 1 or 2 times. And this is actually quite a tricky system. White's development is pretty natural in most cases, and black has to know some things here. He went for bishop b4, which I was a bit familiar with, and I knew that it's not the best move here, but it's certainly playable as well. The main line goes d5, and after cd5, knight d5. By the way, cd5 is not the only move. White can also go e3. But after bishop b4, black is fine as far as I know. So cd5, knight d5, knight c6, bc6, bishop d2 is the line. When many people play rook b8, but this is actually a mistake, since after e4, white gets some pretty good advantage here. I had one game actually, I think here, in the year 2019, I think. And white is actually a lot better here, because white has just a better structure and a nice bishop on c3. So the main line is bishop b4, and yeah, there are a couple of ideas here. For this game, I wanted to play a3. Now that the tournament is over, I can reveal my secret preparation. I checked this for Hare Krishna back a couple of years when I was his second for the Prague Masters, where he deployed this line against Boris Gelfand. And yeah, this is pretty crazy. Gelfand played knight c3 in that game, queen c2, knight d2, bishop b4, knight d4, and queen c3. I showed this also to Mr. Ivanchuk after the game. We did analyze quite a lot, and he said that this looks pretty dangerous. I didn't even recall what is the correct move. It turns out that queen d5 is the move here, when black is threatening queen e5 or queen e4. And there's a lot of yeah, crazy lines here. If you want to play this line, I would definitely recommend you to look into this. I also briefly discussed with him this position, and here I think e5 is what we briefly analyzed, and white has some chances to keep some slight advantage due to the bishop pair.
but black is also pretty fine here because yeah, he has the better development, and yeah, so this is another line for black. But he went bishop b4, and now knight b5. I still knew this, short castle, and here I was already spending some time because it was not clear to me if I should go bishop c7 or bishop d6. In the end, I decided to go for bishop c7 to force queen e7. Bishop d6 was also what I was thinking here after bishop d6, knight takes d6. Of course, in the game, I played bishop e7, and then let me just briefly show. Here I took with the knight, which is just a horrible decision. So I should have played this if I want to take with the knight. But here he has queen b6, which, yeah, I didn't want to allow. This is the main thing. But it turns out after queen d2, knight d4, I was somehow worried. But here white has a couple of ideas. Mr. Ivanchuk told me e3 is a possibility, even long castle is an idea, rook d1, also one move when white actually keeps some advantage. So yeah, this is another line. I think also black here has this move knight e8, but of course now I have a much better version with this queen still being on d8. Now I played bishop d7 and bishop d6, and originally I wanted to take with the queen, which I have no idea why I didn't go for this. Queen d8 is the best move, and here I was just a little bit worried about all of my pieces because a6 will come when my knight probably has to go back to a3. White is still a bit better with all sorts of moves like e3, rook d1, many ideas here, but for some reason I wanted to take on d6, and now my idea was that there is no more queen b6, but I completely underestimated his idea with knight e8. I mostly thought about b6 when I thought I have some advantage here. I calculated bishop a6, bishop g2, when I thought I should be a bit better here because the knight on d6 is pretty strong. But he played knight e8, and now I realized that I'm already, I'm just so underdeveloped, and black will just quickly play d5. He played rook d8 first, also d5 right away was an option. When after cd, ed, black can sacrifice the pawn. We were analyzing here a little bit. I was also worried here. Mr. Ivanchuk told me queen e5 was what he calculated, but now knight c3 back. It's not entirely clear. Black for sure has enough compensation, but I will probably be able to finish my development, something like bishop f5, bishop e2, rook d8, and here I intended to go queen c1. Vasyl also told me like queen b3 or queen a4, but then the problem is after short castle there will always be rook d2. So I intended queen c1. I was calculating something like this here, when probably black still has more than enough compensation. But yeah, he didn't decide to go for this. He went rook d8 instead, which is also good. And here I went bishop e2, which is also pretty poor move. Just bishop d3 would be much better when after d5 takes short castle. Now after d4, e4, knight d4, we will have the same position in the game, just with a full tempo up, as we will see. I went bishop e2, and here now as we can see here, I went bishop d3, and now it's just a tempo up for black, and black is just a little bit better because the knight on d4 is very powerful, and all of my pieces don't have really good squares. Bishop on d3 and queen on d1 are somehow pretty loose. So I was under quite some pressure here. He went bishop e6, which is a good move. I went rook e1. Rook c8 now, also very logical, and here I went queen h5, and after the game, Mr. Ivanchuk was pretty upset that he went h6, and he told me that afterwards he thought he's winning after g6, but we analyzed a little bit, and there were some pretty interesting lines which we found, and it actually turns out, at least according to our analysis, that white is probably okay here. So I intended to go queen e5, and the point is, if black goes knight f3 now, takes rook d3, I always have knight d5. An important idea when I thought it actually could also be dangerous for black, because knight f6 will come, and maybe black is fine still, but yeah, this looked a bit dangerous. Yeah, according to the computer, it's somehow a repetition, 0.00. But what he told me was queen b4 was what he thought was strong, and here we analyzed knight to e4. Let me think. I think it was knight e4 here. What was it that we analyzed? I think it was knight e4. Knight c6 back, knight f6 check, king h8, and now queen g5 was our analysis, I think. And rook takes d3 doesn't work because of queen h6 when there will be checkmate on the next move. So here we thought about queen takes b2, and now rook b1, this was still our analysis. And after both queen c3 or queen d4, let's just say queen c3, I spotted this move bishop takes g6 in the analysis when we both thought that probably white is fine here. Let me just check. Yeah, white is actually better here. Yeah, so black has to go back queen f8 when it's still around balanced. So, but he was very upset after the game. Thought that this was quite good for him, but it turns out that I still have enough defensive resources here. He played h6, which is a good move. Rook e3, also a good defensive move. In general, I'm not happy how I played the opening, but I think overall I defended really well. I mean, this position, it was pretty unpleasant. All of black's pieces are placed perfectly, and I somehow managed to hold on, which against Ivanchuk is pretty hard, and I'm happy that I was able to defend this. He went queen b4, now rook b1, just defending the pawn on b2. Rook c5, I have to go back to d1, it's the only square. He went back rook c6. We were also thinking about the rook g5 here, which might be another idea. I think I suggested knight e4, and after rook d5, knight c3 back, and now rook d7. We thought this might be a better try for black. Yeah, still. Queen e1 and black is a bit better, but it's not the end of the world for white. Yeah. Computer also doesn't give a clear recommendation. He went rook c6, I went a3, queen b6 back, and now I just decided to repeat the moves here since the queen on b6 is actually quite annoying because I can never move the rook on b1 because b2 is always hanging. So I went knight f4, knight c3 back. He went rook d6, I thought pretty logical. Now queen f1, queen b6, and just h3. Just making some luft for the king in case there could happen something on the back rank. Just went h3, now knight b3, rook d1, and I thought this was all pretty logical. Here he went a5. What I was also thinking here was that knight c5 is one option, but here I thought I have b4. When after knight d3, rook d3, I thought everything will just exchange here, and I thought I should be okay here. Yeah, this is okay for me. So I went a5 with the idea to prepare knight c5 without allowing b4, but still I went knight a4 and just to kick out the queen again from c6. Now knight c5 and bishop c2. He took on d1. Rook d2 also doesn't do much, I think. First of all, he doesn't threaten to take on c2, so I guess I have quite a few ideas here. One would be to take on d2 and then to go rook e2. That would be one idea. Maybe I can also go rook e2 right away. That also looks possible. So he took here knight d1 and queen b6. One important idea was that after rook d2, I have rook e2 when bishop c4 would actually be losing because I have rook d2, bishop f1, and now rook d8 with checkmate. But this was an important detail. Otherwise, rook d2 could be pretty unpleasant. I think he also told me that queen rook c3 should be okay, which also looks somewhat holding on. He went queen b6, now queen e1, king f8. Somewhat mysterious already, but maybe he will get ready to move the bishop at some point and there will be no back rank issues. We went king f8, queen c3, knight to d7, and he wants to regroup his knight here. I went rook g3, which is maybe not the best. Rook d3 was what he told me. Since now, I think during the game, I somehow thought that rook c8 is possible here, but yeah, I can just take here. I don't know what I was thinking here. He told me he wanted rook b8, but of course now I could go knight rook g3, and now we have the same position in the game, just that the rook is on b8. But I went rook g3 first, which is also okay. Knight f6, queen e1 back, queen b5, rook e3, and I wanted to prepare queen e2. He went b6, so queen e2 now, and he went queen g5. Maybe bishop c4 is also one idea. I was here on seconds already, so I just played what somehow looked logical. After bishop c4, maybe I have to go back to e1 here. I can go to f3, still around equal. Also queen e1 is fine, even though it looks a bit passive. He went queen g5, now knight c3, just avoiding knight d5, and knight h5, knight d4, knight f4, and here I decided to go for the endgame. This was after the time control already. I also thought about queen f3, but after queen f5, I wasn't entirely sure what happens here because this pin is a bit annoying and I don't have any discoveries yet because the bishop on c2 is always hanging. So I decided to go for the endgame, which does look a little bit unpleasant, but I thought it should be, pretty straightforward draw if I defend accurately. I went f3 since now his threat is bishop c4 followed by rook d2 in some cases. So after f3 now, after bishop c4, I always have rook f2. b5, he gained space on the king side, and I went g4, which does look a bit anti-positional, but my idea is just to bring the king to g3, and then to push either h4 or f4, just to exchange some pawns to make the defensive task easier. He played a4, king g2, bishop c4, rook f2, king e7, king g3, and after f6, I went for f4, which was the correct pawn break. I also thought about h4, but here, after takes g5, king g3, it was still not entirely obvious for me if this is so easy to hold. What was I thinking here? I think maybe just to bring the king, and yeah, f4 is always a bit like he doesn't even have to take, maybe just rook d4. Yeah, probably it's also okay, but here, yeah, it's a bit unpleasant still, and the king can maybe run in some instances. So I went f4, which is correct. Takes, king takes f4, g5, king g3 back, and now I wanted to push h4. So he went bishop d3. I also talked about him with rook d4, which I thought was the best try, and here he just told me some incredible variation, which he calculated until the very end. So it was h4, and after bishop e6, now bishop f5. Bishop takes f5, rook takes f5, rook d3 check. When in the game I thought I'm in some trouble here, but he calculated it until the very end. I think it was king h2, what he told me. So if black takes here, now rook b5 looks like it's just a draw. So he was calculating rook b2 check. Now I think it was king to h3, rook b2. Maybe not king h3, because here, I mean, probably this is also a draw. Does king h1 work as well? No, this is lost. I think it was king h3, what he told me. And rook b2, take here, take, rook g5, check. And he said that I should go back. King h4 is also a draw. I think this was the line which he told me about. King d6, rook f5, king c6, g5. Yeah, this was it. Rook a3, g6, when all of a sudden probably, I mean, it should be a draw, but already black has to be careful to have the perpetual check. So rook a2 check, I think. And yeah, just to give checks. And if the king goes forward, probably in some cases, black can just sacrifice the rook. It's not so easy. Rook a1, d7, and I have rook h1 check here. This is important because if rook g1, now rook g5 and white is winning, but rook h1 check first, and then rook g1 will come when, in the worst case, black can sacrifice on g7 and will at least not lose. So yeah, this was the line he told me about. And instead he tried bishop to d3 here. And after takes, now rook f3 here, I felt like it should be heading to a draw because these pawn endgames are always a draw. I was calculating this here, king e4, king c5, here, king c4, king f6, king b3, takes, king b2, but in the end I thought it's also a draw because I thought we were both promoting at the same time. So this was my calculation until here. So he tried rook b2, I went b3, rook b2, takes, and I still have to be somewhat careful because he has rook b3, but I'm in time to get h4. If I would make some careless move like rook e3 check, king d6, and now king f3 here, I thought this already could be lost because I can never take on b3, and yeah, often the pawn endgames now will be winning for black. So here I went h4, which was important, and he takes, otherwise I will get h5 and rook b3, and now rook f4, and I thought this is just a simple draw. I thought that also this should be holding here, just rook a5, when black pushes the pawn, let's say king f7 first. I thought something like this should be a draw if I just go back with the king, since after a2 I just wait with the king. The only trick is I cannot go king f2 because now rook h1, and after rook a2, rook h2 picks up the rook. This is like a very famous trick in the rook endgames. But I went rook f4, and here I calculated that it's just a draw. King h5 and king g6 is coming. If king f7, I have g5. Rook a1, king g6, a3, and just rook takes f6. And here I'm just coming back with the king. And here he offered a draw, which I accepted because king b4 will just come, and then I will pick up the pawn here. Important to go to a8. Rook a4 would lose due to rook a4 check, rook g4, and then rook a4, and black will be winning. So yeah, pretty good defensive task overall, I would say. Of course, I wanted to try and play for a win, but after what happened in the opening, how I misplayed it, I'm happy to hold the draw. And the tournament is over. I think I gained some rating, like 8 points or so, which I'm happy about. I did make up for the terrible weekend in the Czech Republic. So for this year, there will be only, I think, 2 more classical games I will probably play in the German league. So that will be the finish of the year for me. And about this European Championship, I'm overall pretty happy. I think there were many chances which I left. I mean, especially the 9th round was pretty painful. Also against Ivan Šarić, I didn't have to lose. The only game where I think I was just completely outplayed, which was against Injic, who, by the way, also won the European Championship. So I'm not really crying about this game. But yeah, other than that, I think I only see room to improve, and many things I should work on, especially my technique. I think this was one of the main issues, just being able to convert winning positions. This is something I'll work on. And yeah, otherwise, thank you guys for watching all of my recaps, and thank you for your support in the comment section. It was always nice to read, nice to see. I hope you enjoyed the coverage of the event. If you did, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel, and let me know what you would like to see in the future, what sort of content now that the European Championship is over. And yeah, other than that, thank you guys for your support. Thank you for watching. Take care and see you in the next videos.